Hey there! I have no idea why this light is red, so I'm going to try to adjust it. We are actually going to do all kinds of weird stuff tonight. It's like my control systems have gone really wonky. Good evening. Like all of my lights went weird. There we go. But it's still red. At least it turned it down so it's not blinding me. But it still thinks it needs to be red, which is weird. Since this morning, we've had some creative colors in this light. Let's not make it red. Blue. Blue is much, much better. Thank you. All right. All righty. So I have a shoot tomorrow. So one thing we're going to do tonight is... No, I'm not putting into yellow. It's ridiculous. Put my battery on charger. So that battery number 1 will start charging. We'll put battery number 2 on there in a minute. Both of them will be charged up. So, let's see, nothing here. This shoot does not, in fact, involve any audio. It's a shoot for how do I have these two batteries even in there? These two batteries don't work very well at all. It's a senior picture shoot. So, I don't need any of my audio equipment. We do need to do some cleaning of lenses and things like that. So we'll be doing that a little bit. This is my long lens. I like my long lens a lot. It's good for long shoots. So I'm going to clean it. It's a very good lens. And I take what I do is I've got a micro thingy cloth, which I use for it. But I'm looking, this lens has been with me for a long time. One of the things I'm noticing is that things have gotten angled. And I can see a certain amount of there's a certain amount of dust inside here on the various lenses. And you can't seem to get to those guys. But I'm going to make sure that all of my lenses are clean. So we'll clean lenses today. It's probably my primary lens for everything, so make sure it's ready to go. We'll lock it back on here. Making sure that everything is good. Just using some air, compressed air. Make sure that everything is pretty good. Clean off the monitor or the LCD screen. Clean off, just my various bits and pieces. So I'm ready to do a shoot. So tomorrow I've got a shoot, I've got to work. I've got battery number 1 on the charger. Battery number 2. Put on the charger in a bit. The other thing I want to do is I want to check some of my other lenses. This is my wide angle image stabilization lens. I don't need that. But sometimes I use this guy. This is my 10 to 18 lens. I'll put it off too. So what I'm using is cleansing spray. Here, just cleanses off the gunk. Gets the gunk off the lenses. Some of these lenses pick up all kinds of weird crap. And it's gunky. You know? There we go. It looks nice. This is a fisheye. It's kind of hard to see. But you can see kind of it has a special internal lens that you can kind of see. It's a street zoom, and so it's kind of hard to see inside there, but the internal lens is moving so that outer lens is good and kind of. There we go. There. Well, here's battery number 2. Oh, battery number 2 over here. Charge in a minute. And what we're going to try to do is charge both of these batteries up so that we're ready to go tomorrow. There we go. So, case in here carries some stuff. George. How you doing, George? Okay, transport card here. Just check to make sure it's okay. There's nothing on it. It's a transport, which looks empty. My standard operating procedure for these guys is I carry these transports. I check the cards. I carry 2 cards in here. That's cute. There are no options. It's decided now. Your only option is to upload to the track. Okay. Let's check out what's on this drive. Okay, we got ourselves some pictures. One here. Oh, this card's kind of old. Kind of old and kind of young at the same time. That's kind of weird. Oh, good. Pictures of Alex. That's good. Always a plus. There's some good stuff on here. Kind of fun. Okay. Always a plus. Hey, Tormund. How you doing? All right. Man, you want to talk about determined. Microsoft is determined to make it so that no matter when you put a chip in, it automatically copies everything off of the chip onto your OneDrive. The first chip I put in there, it said, hey, do you want to open the files or copy them to your OneDrive? And I said, open the files. The second chip I put in, he goes, you want to copy them to the OneDrive or copy them to the OneDrive? I said, neither of them, so I canceled it. The third time I plugged it in, it goes, copying to your OneDrive. Like each one of them is getting progressively more aggressive about copying everything to your OneDrive. I don't want it copied to my OneDrive. I'm good, thanks. It's like how it's the same thing with Adobe. I'm having this. We're going to force you to do this. We will force you to do our way, and you'll have to deal with the repercussions therein. It's like, okay. Oh, these are all pictures I took of Dad's slides when he was in Greece, and then he was in. I have no idea what he's doing. He's such a goofball. My dad was a weird person. Good guy though. He was just as weird as the rest of us weirdos. So, oh hey, random pictures of random weird things. Oh hey, including my old Jetta. I love my Jetta. My little little brown Jetta got swapped out to become a little red Jetta after this. I mean, like the day after this. I have to try to get my little brown Jetta. I love my brown Jetta. Car. Who'd you go car? Yeah, okay. So this chip has not a lot left on it, so let's go into these two chips, clear them, because we don't need these two. It needs a 250. What's going on? Hello, hello, hello. There we go. Better, better, better. There we go. That was really weird. Huh. It's very strange, guys. I'm not 100% sure why that happened, but all of the systems, all the way across the board, all of them have forgotten where my mixer was. Huh, weird. All right, so let me start from the top. This is really strange. I have a shoot tomorrow. How much of my audio did you hear, Brent? I mean, could you hear? Because you were responding as if you could hear what I was saying. Did it just all of a sudden all drop out? What was going on there? Was I all of it the last 2 minutes? So it did it all of a sudden. So here's what I just saw. First of all, OBS was set for no audio, so it was set for no device. So somewhere it forgot my mixer. Then this was set for mute and set for no device. So like something glitched through the entire system here between OBS and Restream. Yeah, I get that I was not talking, but you were hearing me in the beginning when I was talking about cameras and stuff. You just suddenly couldn't hear me at the end. Remarkably weird. Not the first time that's happened. That's the second time that actually happened. So that's not the first time that this entire system has done this. So what happens, it seems, is OBS forgets where my mixer is and goes, I guess you don't have any audio. That's okay. And then as soon as that happens, Restream responds by muting my mic. Like it doesn't, I don't know. That's weird. I do think that part of it might have been me plugging in and unplugging things at the little plug-in station over here where I've got all these different things. I feel like that might have been part of the contribution to this whole thing. So I am looking for my 256 chip. That's you. This is a 256 gig chip, which should still have some space on it. So let's try this theory. Yep, there's no choices except to import it. That's it. Ha! Ha! Apparently, we are in the middle of both OBS and Restream deciding that it cannot remember whether I actually have a mixer or not every so often. So I might be like talking along and blah, 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 blah. So just be aware that that could occur because that's apparently what just happened. Like I was talking and all of a sudden, you know, so just be cognizant that apparently that's the thing going on tonight. Here are our things. How are you doing, Dan?
Yeah, not too bad.
I'm glad you're joining tonight. I have a shoot tomorrow. So I'm doing the super boring thing of cleaning all my lenses, making sure my camera is ready to go, checking chips, things like that. And it's not exactly the most exciting thing to do online, so I'm glad you're here to draw. You are much more exciting than me, and I can chat with you while I'm doing all this.
No, I was making money a little bit earlier this evening. I had a number of commissions today, so it really helped.
That is good. All right. This chip still has 163 gigs left on it. So this chip is solid for job. So the camera is loaded. Ready to go.
Oh God, not the camera.
Well, it is tomorrow. I'm going to be doing it's a senior picture shoot, which frankly I still am a little nervous about. So it does kind of make me like a little nervous. Do I know what I'm doing, baby? Because it's my fourth so far.
Well, so long as you're not actually shooting seniors, then it should be fine.
Yeah. I always think that every time I talk about this, though, it's going to end up putting me on some list somewhere. Because, I mean,
come on, you're an artist. You're already on some list.
I'm probably on like 20 lists anyway, you're right. But I mean, like, I'm always talking about shooting people and there's bodies in the trunk. And I mean, like, just the normal vernacular of an average photographer just asks for trouble. Because I actually have two bodies. And sometimes I take my spare body with me. You know, it's like, I'm not going to do it today. But I mean, I carry this guy around with a spare body.
Oh,
that's literally what this is.
So I found out something interesting regarding the Air Force.
Uh-huh.
They are in the middle of changing up the names of their programs.
MOS?
And the
MOS programs? The jobs?
Jobs and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But the person doing it apparently doesn't understand meme culture.
Oh.
And maybe having some of these acronyms is probably not the best thing that they could have.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah, because they don't pass the 12-year-old test.
Oh boy.
So the one guy who was saying this goes, yeah, my job is about to change. And how did he put this? To the... Oh God, I have to look. It's it's the skill level upgrade training.
Nice. Okay, now wait a minute. That doesn't require. I mean, really, honestly, it does not require you to be familiar with meme culture. You just need to know what you're spelling. I mean, come on, people.
One of their planes is it's a B-1, and it's known as the Bone.
Right.
They're currently looking at upgrading it, and the upgrade
an extended
model,
range. I can already tell that it's going to have an extended range because then it's going to be the Bone ER.
So The current one is the Bone Dash 1B.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going up to the Bone Dash 1R.
Yep. I was waiting for the Bone Dash ER extended range.
Yep.
Because that's what I would do. I mean, and that would be intentional. That would be absolutely intentional. Oh, hey, we call this playing the bone. Yeah, we're going to get the ER version, the extended range version, and every brass member is going to be like, oh, yeah, it makes sense, ER. Mm-hmm. Yep, it's the bone ER. Don't think I wouldn't do that.
How's your ship doing right now, Airman? Rigid, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, I would so do that. Yep. Brent is having problems with print walls. Oh. I am finally making one picture that every time anybody gets into an electric vehicle fight, I'm just going to post this picture, which has all of the dumb facts for EVs, because I am so sick of this fight. And everybody says the same 6 things, and none of them own it. The thing that gets me is my buddy Alex, who is on Geek Tank. He has a 2015 Nissan Leaf, the original 90-mile range Leaf. He hasn't done anything to it, and he's been driving it since he bought it used, so it was 2 years down. So he bought it in 2017. And he's been driving it since then, and he just tonight drove off with a couple of buddies to go downtown to go dancing. They'll be back later on tonight. He's been driving that Leaf since 2017, and it's like he's driving the first generation Leaf and hasn't done a thing to it. You know, it's a 7-year-old car, and all these people keep talking about how electric cars are all rah, 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 and I'm like, you guys just never owned one. And I don't mind the shouldn't be forced to. I get that argument, but I'm not forcing anybody. All I'm asking is people to stop whining about EVs being 20 grand to replace the battery. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it costs me 5 grand to replace the battery. I've got to replace them every 10 years or so. And and the motor is rated to 1 million miles. So I'm not going to need to replace that for what, 20 years? And at 1 million miles, it'll need new brushes. That's what it's going to need. So a rebuild on it, okay, so even if I have to pay like 20 grand for a rebuild, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Every 20 years, you know? Every 10 years, I have to pay 5 grand to replace the batteries? Okay. You know, I mean, like, count up all the oil changes and, you know, I don't know. It just frustrates me because it's like I keep being a person who knows all of these things because I own one, and their response is, yeah, you're stupid, you don't know anything. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, you're just a liberal. And I'm like, I own one.
What does that have to do with anything?
Right?
It's like,
I own one of these. They're like, it'll leave you stranded in the winter. And I'm like, I've driven an EV in 7 Colorado winters now.
I'm sorry, but the other side of that is I've had gasoline cars that have stranded me in winter.
Right? Well, and even Brent
I'm not seeing the problem here.
Brent is bringing up 2 problems that I keep coming up with. Here's the thing about the power grid, Brent, because I actually went and researched this. My EV pulls less power than an AC unit for a house. I charge my EV at night. My AC does not run at night.
So the grid will handle it just fine, because it'll just be like, instead of having the grid having to deal with all the AC units during the day, it's going to have to do AC units at day and night, but the grid will be fine. It actually does handle just fine, because my EV pulls less than the AC units. So even if everybody got an EV tomorrow, which they wouldn't, the grid would be okay. As far as the battery tech goes, if you're only, if we're talking about like the lithium, yeah, probably. But there are already 4 companies that are making inroads on aluminum carbon batteries, which do better than the lithium ion anyway. They just have to get through.
To be brutally honest, if everybody suddenly having an EV was going to put that much stress on the power grid, then the problem is with the electric company not keeping up with the demands for power.
Yeah.
And not the people around.
Right.
Like in California, yeah, where they're having rolling brownouts for normal use that they have, that people have, that's a power company problem.
It is. And moreover, those brownouts are happening when they only have 4% EV cars. So, that's an issue that they're having already. That's not even with the EVs being a problem child. That has nothing to do with EVs. That's air conditioning. We need to come up with better air conditioning systems. So that's what that is. That's overheating air conditioning. There's no water now in a number of their aqueducts, which means our hydroelectrics are no longer working. They're already sucking power from us.
Yeah.
California's been taking a lot of power from us. There's like all these arguments that everybody comes up with, and I go look them up. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes some sense. Let me look it up. And I go and look it up, and it's like, no, that's not the problem. Like where's your electricity coming from? That's right, coal. Okay, except Colorado is 26% renewables right now, which means that 26% of my fuel is renewable and 75% is fossil fuel. How much of your gasoline is fossil fuel? Get back to me. You know what I mean? Like, you can make that argument, but that doesn't even make sense. It's like, so 3/4 of my car's fuel is fossil fuel. But even then, somebody did the math and worked it all the way down, and per mile, even if you assume power plants with 100% coal per mile to mile, electric still use up less fossil fuel per mile at that point than gasoline. But also, while I was going out and looking through all this stuff, one thing I learned was where the people are getting the battery replacement will cost 20 grand thing is because dealerships don't want to swap batteries out. So they're quoting 20 grand for something that's really only 5,000 to fix, so that people will not ask them to change the batteries out. And if you call Nissan on them for that, Nissan will actually nail the dealership and beat on them for that. So that's actually kind of cool. But then it's like, all the other arguments like EVs are too expensive. And I'm like, my Leaf was $27,000. A Hyundai Sonata is $24,000. That's not super expensive. The Kia Sorento is $31,000. It's like, and even then, my buddy Alex bought his for like 10 grand because it was used, 2 years old. It was used, so.
Well, and that's a whole nother argument with the price of everything.
Yeah.
Everything's super expensive right now.
And it doesn't need to be. It's just becoming ridiculous. Anyway, so I've been arguing these arguments, and instead of arguing these arguments, I'm going to make a single single JPEG, and every time one of these things shows up, I'm just going to post the JPEG and then leave. I mean, because they're also doing the EV cars catch fire, and I'm like, yeah, because gasoline's not explosive, luckily. Luckily, gasoline is so shelf stable.
Well, and some of this is coming from the gasoline company, the oil companies, because they don't want to go out of business.
Oh yeah, I get it.
They have to create the scare. They have to create the artificial scare tactics.
And I get it, but it's my problem is that people are like, well, we should let the fair market decide, and I'm like, I would, except there is so much different disinformation out there now that even me, when we first got our first Leaf back in 2015, I went in there and said, we're not buying this car, we're leasing it because I don't want to have to be held responsible for replacing that super expensive battery. And the thing that's so funny about that is I literally said that because we were turning in a car that we had just paid $6,700 to replace a transmission, and it had sprung a leak in its coolant system that was going to cost another $3,100 because they had to pull the engine out to pull out the radiator. So I mean, that car already in like 3 months had racked up $9,000 in repairs. And so we finally turned it in because we're like, this is screwed up. We don't have the money. And so people are sitting there going, it's going to cost $10,000 to replace that battery pack. And so I was even doing oh man, I don't want to get an electric. It's going to cost $10,000 to replace that battery pack after literally paying $9,000 for a car in 3 months. It was like, I mean, the disinformation is so thick that people are so intense on this that the fair market doesn't stand a chance. There's no free market out there. People are afraid that EVs spontaneously blow up and kill everybody within a 20-mile radius. And, all these weird things that none of it's true, or that they don't run in the winter and they don't, and it's like, I don't know.
Tesla also didn't help itself with the way it designed its auto system.
Yeah, I mean, like the auto drive stuff, that all came out with Tesla. Well, my Leaf doesn't auto drive. My Leaf doesn't even know where it is on the road. I mean, you don't auto drive a Leaf. It just is.
Well, you heard what happened with the auto drive system for the Tesla, didn't you?
Oh, I've heard all the stuff with that because I'm on all the electrical vehicle things. Which one are you talking about?
That it doesn't recognize children on the road.
That's cute. Well, okay, that one's on the yes, but there's sort of a quantification to that because I actually read that article. What happened was they put a child-sized dummy on the road and had the Tesla auto drive straight towards it, and the Tesla ran it over. Now, both Tesla and like other people have said that the biggest problem with that was not the latest update on it, and B, you should not be letting your Tesla auto drive yet. It's not ready to run itself on the road because it still also doesn't quite recognize stoplights just yet. It does, but it doesn't quite get it perfect. And so Tesla keeps saying, okay, but don't let your Tesla drive itself yet. It's not ready. We're still learning. They're using the heuristic learning system of letting all those Teslas make mistakes, and it learns from all those mistakes. And so, the next iteration of Tesla came out, and it didn't run over kids. So that's a thing. It's kind of like that's one of the frustrations behind the whole thing is that, sure, it did.
It's software. It's software.
Yeah, it's software. It's still learning. and it's getting better. But I mean, that's the thing that a lot of this is like people don't understand the scale of stuff, right? Like Tesla has one accident with auto drive every 95 million miles or something like that, whereas a human has one accident every 60 million miles.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay, so the auto drive does make mistakes, but humans make a lot more, you know? And that's back to it depends on what you count things as, you know? It's like, but that said, so anyway, I don't know why I'm grumping about all of this. It makes me grumpy. Like this guy was like, well, okay, because the argument this time was because CDOT has just authorized like a bunch of money to put in chargers all the way out I-70 and I-25 for all of us EV drivers, so that we can now make it to Wyoming, or we can make it to Utah, or whatever. And I'm like, that's kick butt. It's like, that's really cool.
I like it.
Yeah. And everybody's like, yeah, but why are we spending taxpayer money? And I'm like, because I'm a taxpayer. It's kind of like, I mean, I'm totally cool with the idea of.
Well, here's the other side of that. Is that person goes, well, why are we spending taxpayer money on it? Hey, guess what? On the other side, you make money, the taxpayers make money back on the system because it's not going to be free.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you're spending money up front. And I guess I'm kind of getting a little tired of the not in my neighborhood idiots.
Yeah. There's a lot of those guys.
And it's like, oh, well, I don't want this. I don't want to pay for somebody else. It's like, you say that up until you're the one having to take advantage of these programs, and then suddenly they're good.
Right.
Or you complain that somebody else is getting, taking advantage of this system, and you're not, even though you don't need to.
Right.
It's like, come off your goddamn high horse for 10 minutes. And realize that the world is not about you.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing. Is it's like, okay, but I do use the system. You know what I mean? Like, I do. It's my system too. It's and I have EVs, and at some point I'm going to have 2 EVs because, frankly, now that this Leaf has been around, it's like, it's like, well. Then there's all these weird things like that. My uncle posted a thing where he said, "This is just for you." A friend of mine just had to have their Chevy Volt have their batteries changed, and it cost them $25,000. And I looked it up, and first of all, the person was in Florida, and my uncle is in Texas, and I'm like, that's not your neighbor. He said it was his neighbor, right? My neighbor had this problem. And then I looked it up, and like the car doesn't have the right battery pack for the parts that it said that it, because it was a picture of like the dealership's work order, And I'm like, first of all, that's not the right battery pack for that car. So that's probably one of the reasons why it costs so much. Second of all, that battery pack's discontinued. So that's probably the other reason that it's so expensive. And I'm like looking at this, and the more I looked into it, the more I'm like, somebody just totally made this up out of whole cloth to prove that EVs were so super expensive. And I'm like, you're making up facts. I mean, literally making up things. It's not like that. And that bugs me. I would love to just let EVs go out there and fight and compete in the grand scheme of things with gas cars, and then just let the best man win. But the EVs are already starting way behind the starting line. So many people know facts about EVs, and none of those are true. And I mean, like, all of them I can disprove because I own one. What really gets me is when I drive all the way to Fort Collins in my wife's Leaf, and I get to Fort Collins, which is 60 miles north of here, and people will sit there and argue with me that you can't go anywhere outside of Denver in an EV. And I literally drove one up there. Like, literally, it's in the parking lot right now with 150 miles still on it. I could still go all the way to Cheyenne on this thing, on the same charge.
I think part of that is it's a thing where people don't like change because it's scary, so they come up with everything in the world that wouldn't work.
Right.
You know, they intentionally try to kill it.
And I completely agree. And that's why I'm like, I used to be really big on you know, let the free market decide and stuff like that. And really, in the end, it doesn't stand a chance. Not with this much disinformation. So that's the reason why the government's stepping in and forcing people, is because they'll never be able to get to that point, you know? Because I agree, usually we should just let the market decide, but
What's up?
I'm just looking at, there was a thing that talks about our power generation grids, and it's just interesting that, oh, okay, there we go, I get it now. Our power grid is about 65% natural gas and coal, and the rest of it's all renewable. So all those people who are talking about how I'm burning coal in my car, they're all referring to, you know, they don't know what they're talking about, because our grid is 65% fossil fuel. Is only 65% fossil fuel, I should say. So only 65% of my car's power comes from fossil fuels.
But the other side of that argument is you're also spending less energy. Like gasoline, you know, they try to tout it as being better than fossil fuels, but it's not that efficient.
It isn't.
Like the creation of the gasoline takes a shit ton of energy, but you don't realize that when you're at the gas station pumping, you know, that your gasoline in.
Yeah, that's another thing I've noticed that nobody seems to take into account. Like, transporting and shipping gas around costs diesel. You know, like trucking gas places. So they're always like, you know, how much electricity or how much fuel have you used? And it's like, well, yeah, but you know,
people are
kind of
just
one of those
weird.
things.
Yeah, it's frustrating. So anyway, the long and the short of it is, I'm not getting into this argument anymore. I'm going to make a single picture that I can post every time, because I'm also not happy with people being so rude. It's like they sit there and like, well, enjoy your car fire that you'll die in, har har har, and it's like, you have to be, you want me to treat you like you're an adult, yet you really don't want to treat me like an adult. That's not cool.
No, it's part of that whole we need to own X, insert X to be the opposite of whatever
Yeah.
you hear. We have to destroy the liberals, or we have to destroy the conservatives. And it's like, you don't have to destroy anybody, guys.
Yeah. I mean, at least one person at some point in time did the, hello, Merrick. One person did the, hey, we just don't like to be forced. And I was like, hey, I get that.
Hey, Merrick.
And
Yeah, it makes absolute sense to me.
And I'm like, that's cool. I don't mind that. I just don't see any option at this point in time, because we've spent too much time pounding so much disinformation out there that people are literally afraid of electric cars, and they really shouldn't be. We should let them compete as usual. It does. I mean, and that's the thing. It takes a lot of effort and energy to make a renewable, like a windmill and things like that. But that's what we were just talking about. The biggest problem is people also, when they compare those things together, they don't compare building refineries, refining oil. They don't compare driving the gas all over the place, or diesel trains that haul the coal all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, they don't compare the infrastructure of using fossil fuels. They just compare how much it costs to build a windmill, but then they don't talk about how much it costs to build an oil refinery. So,
or a coal plant.
Right. I mean, all of that stuff costs. Everything costs.
Yeah. I mean, a windmill, yeah, it's expensive, but so is everything else.
Yeah, I get it. Anyway, I didn't mean to get on a rant. I've been on these guys, arguing with these guys all day, and I'm just so bitter and angry about it, because they were so rude to me. All of their, well, enjoy your death by flames, and I'm like, really? You're just like, really, literally, you want to own me so bad that you're willing to literally wish me dead? I mean, that's just like, ugh.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I prefer kindness.
I mean, like, I found a life cycle GHGs for electric cars versus a gasoline car. It's because it's, if you count manufacturing and end of life, battery manufacturing, and all of those things, yeah, you have to count those into its emissions rating. And the truth is that an EV with 300-mile range will take up effectively the GHG, or environment impact, of about 175. But a gas car hits 400 on that rating of the same impact on the environment, by, if you take all of the things that are going on. And that's the problem, is that they keep pointing out these things. That's the other thing that got me, is it's like, I said something about how no matter what, I'm still using more renewables. And they're like, well, yeah, you're not environmentally clean. And I'm like, wait, it's an all or nothing? I didn't know it was all or nothing. That just being better was a good thing, Nope. No saving the environment until we can come up with one thing that's 100% clean. Yeah, it's like, okay. Yeah. Now I feel like I'm ranting. I don't know why.
You're ranting.
I am
You're
totally
deep
ranting.
into ranting.
I am totally into ranting.
So yeah, it feels nice to get back into drawing.
Yeah. Speaking of not ranting things, how are you doing with drawing?
Actually, I got quite a bit done today. So the comic, I've actually been slowly working on it. I've had to add a whole bunch of pages to this view because I jumped too much.
Oh, yeah.
I went from, okay, they killed the big bad, and then people went back up to go get rescue workers.
Right.
And then I went, oh, wait, I have a plot hole here, because what about the big group that the two in the beginning had run away from?
Right.
Because there's that massive group that there's a horde up in the top area that they had run from. So now I'm like, okay, so now they're battling their way through that to get to the rescuers. And so it's added pages onto it, but it actually makes the story flow better. So I've been dealing with how to handle that.
That sounds awesome.
So it's pushed my page count for this one up, but I actually kind of like the way it's going because it's making two members that kind of fought each other kind of congeal a little better, that they're becoming teammates now.
That's kind of cool also.
I don't know if you saw it, but somebody had posted let's see if I can get to the picture. It is very accurate to comic creation. And it is, the artist is daydreaming. It's like, oh, plot twist here, and oh my god, this character dies here, and oh my god, here's another plot twist over here. And then it expands out and it goes, but you're over here. It's like, yeah. So I've been working on that.
That's cool.
I've also been just doing some light drawing just to kind of get myself back into the habit. So
Light drawing.
yeah, a lot of sketches, a lot of
I just love that
things.
you're like, your idea is light drawing, and you're like, I'm like, okay, light drawing. That's funny.
Yeah, and so Merrick, do you have the screen style, or do you have the draw down on the tablet, but it's not an active screen style? What kind of style do you have?
Yeah, what
Okay,
is your
the screen style? So the big thing you're going to notice as you start to draw with the screen stuff, and this actually occurs with the other style too, but it's different, is you'll notice that your wrists will get tired very quickly because you are drawing at an angle you're not used to. So you have to also deal with that.
I'll agree with that.
And so you'll be fighting that as you're breaking into it, which there's nothing wrong with that. That is just a natural thing because you have to train your arm to handle a different angle of drawing, as it were. But what you'll notice is that you'll be able to do things easier.
Yeah.
Like, you have to, one of the things you'll have to train yourself, and you have to train yourself to do this anyways as an artist. Yeah, I do that all the time. That's
I
you
actually
have to learn
rotate.
to.
Yeah, I rotate like this and hold my pen like this intentionally just so I don't accidentally click it. Because if I hold it like
Yeah,
this,
and I
I
actually,
will click it.
yeah, I actually have to pinch it. So I keep them to the top, and I pinch down lower so that I can avoid 90% of the time touching those buttons, but occasionally you'll notice that the pen will rotate in your fingers and you'll hit those buttons at the most inopportune moment, which is where Control Z becomes your friend.
Right. Now, did you get one of the monitors that has the buttons on the side? Because if you did not, they make an extra little widget that's like $50 or something like that, that has just buttons and a turn knob on it. But if you've got the buttons on the side, like mine has buttons on the side, I assign undo to that, and I just sit there and with my right hand I'm drawing, and my left hand is just holding the side of the monitor like this with my thumb right next to the undo button.
Okay, so you have all those buttons right there.
You are.
Yeah, and I
I
would
think you
put
even have the
in.
you even have a little spinny thing.
Yeah,
We don't have.
I would go in with those buttons, and I'd put in like one for the erase, so that you instantly can hit the erase button. One for your pen. One for undo, and then one for it's your lasso select tool. And learn to love your select tools like the lasso and the magic wand, because they will save you so much time as you start to get into coloring and doing more with your art. But also, don't be afraid to look at tutorials to see how other people do it, because you will learn so much by looking at, oh, well, this guy does something over here, and while you might not do 90% of what he says, he might have a thing for you in which you went, oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Yep.
Or sit down and listen to when we have Cat on the show and they start talking about all
Cat
of this.
tells us everything. They are so knowledgeable.
It's like you start listening to Cat and you're like, I feel stupid.
Yep. That's me. I'm like, oh man, they've got me. I am so lost.
So I'm gonna post this in chat. Let's see if I can get to his stuff real quick.
To Cat?
No, this is someone else.
Oh, okay.
He does CSP tutorials for how he does his webcomic. I've shown you this guy's stuff. It's amazing. So the other thing is, and you know this by how fast I draw, keep in mind that part of my speed is the fact that I also go through and I use a lot of techniques from Clip Studio to help speed me up. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Guy, that once you start knowing how to use the program, you'll become faster?
Yeah. Once you know everything, it becomes super fast, ridiculously fast.
Did you see that interesting technique that I wish I knew what brush they were using, but did you see the speed line thing that Kat liked on Twitter the other day, Guy?
No.
Oh, let me show you this.
Watch Twitter more often, but I don't.
Let me show you this technique. This is really cool what the person was doing. Okay. So let's say that you're not using correct pen.
Right. Use the right pen, please.
Okay.
You'll need to move over a little to the left. Here, let me make you just the big guy. There we go.
So let's say you have something like this on your blue layer.
Uh-huh.
What they did was they went in with the select tool. And they selected the line.
Are you on a raster or a vector?
It works either way.
Okay.
So in this case, I'm just on my raster layer because it's easier for me to just
we
do
both work
my
raster, and we keep meaning we shouldn't, but we do.
Well, no, I would do raster specifically for my sketch layer, and then I do vector for my ink layer.
Oh, okay. That's what I've been doing, or at least trying to teach myself to do that.
So go in with your magic wand and select the line.
Okay.
And then on the next layer, and this is where they had a brush. And I want to know what brush they were using, but they literally went through like this.
Huh.
And they had a brush that would do these lines for. I don't have that brush.
Right.
So they did something like this, made that go away so that they were just looking at that, and then they just went in with their regular brush and just kind of cleaned it up a little bit. And suddenly, that pattern has more energy to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look at that. That's insane. I love it.
And I watched that video and I'm like, son of a...
I know, right? We worked so hard.
You mean I've been doing this the hard way this entire time?
Right. Oh, man.
So it means when I go to do my action stuff, I'll go in and use that technique to do the line, and suddenly I can put a lot more motion into the art and make the art look a lot more flowing.
Right.
It's like, why didn't I know about this before? Why wasn't I doing this before? Who are you?
That's awesome though. That is so kick butt.
Yeah.
That is so kick butt. Stuff like that just always makes me just so happy.
I'm also learning to not be afraid of resizing. Like if something's a little too big, going in and resizing the stuff so it fits the frame better.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you weren't here at the beginning of the show today. I just wanted to say that tomorrow is Troy's birthday. Not your Troy, my Troy. And
Okay.
so, or actually today was Troy's birthday. So tomorrow I'm going to take him to brunch. So I won't be doing a morning show.
Okay.
So if you do the morning show, that's totally cool. If you want to, but you might want to alert the guys on the forum before you do so that they have a chance of joining or joining later, because you usually, if you run the show, you usually start at 10 instead of starting at 9. And actually, if you start at 10 and go to noon, I might actually be able to join you from 11 to noon, because we're going to go to brunch at like 9. I can't imagine us staying at brunch for 3 hours, but you never know. I mean, anything could happen. But if I show up back at home, I'll be like, well, might as well get to work. You know, it's like,
yeah.
You know, so if that happens, I'll just come home and do work. So.
Yeah, I have to see what happens tomorrow.
All good.
Things have been a little crazy around here.
No issue.
And hopefully on the 22nd, we can actually start getting a resolution to the VA.
That'd be good. That's been unpleasant.
Well, and like, so we've had to wait 60 days from their last communication saying, hey, you're in the final thing and we're ready to make a decision on this any day now.
Right.
That was almost 2 months ago. It'll be two months on the 22nd. And from what we found out, it's like, yeah, at that point, that's when they can go in and start going, hey guys, what's going on with this?
Right.
So, and that's been causing a lot of stress.
I can see that.
Well, because it puts you into a limbo. Like, that's the other thing that we've been fighting is, like, if you have, even if it's a no, if you have an answer and you know how to, you know how to deal with it. Oh, they turned us down. Okay.
At least now we know what the next
some
step
things.
is.
Yeah, we know. But when the answer is nothing,
you don't know where to go.
Then you're stuck in this doldrum of we don't know what to do, and hey guys, what's going on? And yeah.
Right. I mean, like, you just don't.
And
that's part of the problem.
Yeah, and it creates a lot more stress than what it
needs to.
Yeah.
I agree.
So in other news, did you hear what happened to QuaCk?
To who?
His name is Jolly Jack. He's Philip Jackson. He does a lot of anthro work, but he's been around for a long, long time.
Okay. No, I have not. I don't even know who he is. So this is going to be a story.
he's a British guy.
Okay, fair.
And on his Twitter, his banner had sexy characters on it, but it wasn't like it was overly obnoxious.
Right.
You know, like he had his superhero character was in one section, and he had it all split out to the different types of characters he does.
Okay, fair. Makes sense.
And you look at it, and there was nothing bad about it.
Per se, okay, yeah.
But he got nailed by Twitter for having pornographic material for his term. And everybody was like, say what?
Right. Kind of like, well, there's that. Then that happened. That's kind of wild and weird and somewhat disturbing.
Since you can post pornographic pictures on Twitter and they don't care.
Right.
But something about your banner, it's like,
I saw cosplay girls that were way over my comfort line. You know what I mean? Like way beyond what I was comfortable with. I ended up having to unfollow a couple of those cosplay girls. So I'm like, I just don't know if I necessarily want to look at those pictures. Like, whoa. You know?
Yeah. It's like, you have got to be kidding me. Trying to see if I can pull. Yeah, here we go.
You're actually gonna like pull it up and share it?
Yeah.
Sweet. So that will get canceled too?
Well, it's not, considering that
worried.
what we had on here, this isn't even like we've had worse.
Of course,
Like,
that's why I'm
there's sexiness on here, but there's nothing that I would say would quantify as
pornographic.
pornography.
I wouldn't either.
It's like,
Really weird. Like, hey, let's get really worked up over nothing. A lot of nothing.
yeah. It sounds like a moderator problems with him,
Yeah.
or a Twitter bot misidentified something. Because it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that seems like a I don't know.
Again, it's the algorithm.
It's really, I think what's right. I think what happens is this. I think if you are negative, you start to get negative karma on social media. I think they have a secret that nobody wants to talk about number, which is, hey, Can posts something. I don't like that, so I downvote it. And it tracks that. How many times has Can posted something that got laugh emoticons or angry emoticons? The negative emoticons. How many times has Can done that? Well, obviously Can is a troublemaker of some sort because he's got 50,000 negative emoticons and 20,000 positive emoticons. And therefore, if anyone reports Can, we instantly lock him down, no questions asked, because we know he's a troublemaker. We've always known he's a trouble. You know what I mean? Like,
That's what I think is happening. And then that way they don't have to work at it. Nobody actually has to employ real workers. It can be automatically done. Because it's safe to bet that if you have a lot of negative response, you probably are causing trouble of some sort, you know? So that's
maybe.
that's what I think is happening. This is my theory. It's my tinfoil hat theory, and I know it's tinfoil hat, but it's still tinfoil hat, you know?
Well, it's like the Spiffing Brit. I don't know if you know who he is or not, but he does a lot of how to break game. He professionally exploits games.
No, my kid probably knows him though.
He has some really funny stuff that he does, but then he started going into breaking the algorithm for major programs, like how to manipulate the market of Steam using cups of tea.
That's awesome.
And he totally manipulated the market with a cup of tea emoji.
Nice.
His recent one was how to get 1 million impressions on YouTube without ever posting a single video. And it was exploiting the way the algorithm works.
That's
to get impressions without ever having to post a single video on YouTube. It's like, yeah, there's problems.
Well, and that's the thing. That's part of this. It's actually ironic. We were just watching Orville tonight because we're trying to manipulate that particular market because we want more Orville. We love Orville. We were watching Orville tonight, my wife and I, and we came across the episode called oh crap, I just lost the name of it while saying this. Minority Rule or Majority Rule. And the whole episode is everybody has the little pins that have an upvote or a downvote. And if you have too many downvotes, they kill you effectively. So, or they put you through, education. So it's, one of those things where it's like, it was a fascinating comment, but it also is one of those, yeah, well, it's a thought process of gee willikers. Because social media can be scary, but you and I rely on it. It's important for us to have people who know we exist. So you can get our comics, which reminds me, I'm supposed to order mailers so I can mail my comics to people who want a copy of my comic. Because there are a number of people who want a copy of my comic. These are kind of cool. The corrugated boxes, 25 of them for $50 though. It's $2 a piece.
Because people want my comic.
Yeah, well, and I'm not willing to spend $1 zillion for it because though it's cool.
Oh, you're missing what's happening on screen.
Oh. Are you mad?
No, people want your comic, and I'm pointing at me. I want your comic.
But I will see your butt someday, and I will give you a copy. You're easy. You live in Firestone. That's not so far. I'm even on the right side of Denver to visit you. You and I are going to go have lunch somewhere along the line here.
Yeah.
And I'm even okay with meeting at that McDonald's halfway down the way. And we meet halfway. I was willing to go all the way frickin' up into Firestone for you, just so you know. Because I love you, and that's the way it goes. You just have to put up with it. So, anyway, 'tis the nature of the beast. Yeah, I was out looking at Amazon when you were doing that. Like, what do we have on Amazon for mailing comics? Oh, these are 100-pack stay flat cardboard mailers, self-adhesive white rigid shipping envelopes for photos and documents 6x8. That's almost the right size. These are blue. I like blue. Blue is cool. Everything should be blue. My entire world should be blue. I'm blue. Problem is, it's by 11.
What's up?
It needs to be at least 7 by 11 in order to ship. Unsized. I got 9.5 by 11 in blue.
Oh, so I have a comic suggestion, a graphic novel suggestion for you.
For me?
Yes. And it's not going to be, if you go to Barnes & Noble to look for it, it's not going to be in the graphic novel section. It's going to be under the current events section.
That's interesting.
And it's called Save It Till Later.
Okay.
And it's this guy has done a lot of autobiographical stuff and a lot of real world, and this was from, he started to write this book when Trump came into office, and he was going through what it's like being in the Deep South and being very liberal.
Yeah.
Like, he was friends with John Lewis. His daughter got to meet John Lewis. And so he talks about symbolism, and he talks about activism in this day and age, particularly with COVID and all this, and how his daughter was starting to get into that through the COVID era, and how he was handling that as a parent and what he was going through mentally. And it's such a great book.
Yeah.
Like, I picked that up and I was like, boy, I'm really glad I spent the I don't have a lot of money right now, but I'm glad I spent it on this. It's just such an interesting book to read and break down.
Yeah. Agreed. I'll read that.
The author is Nate Powell.
Nate Powell.
Yes.
Writing this down. What was the name of it again?
Save It for Later. Promises, Parenthood, and the Urgency of Protest.
I will get that book next time I'm at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, it just came out in August. And like he discusses like how the Punisher logo is being used, like Marvel's The Punisher, how that logo is now being used by white supremacists.
Mm-hmm. I have seen that.
And how the original author of The Punisher was like, this is not what this guy is supposed to symbolize. Like, he is not a good guy. He is not the person you should align your life to be.
Right.
Like, he wrote The Punisher to be a warning of what happens when you go over the line.
Right. Right.
So it's just a wonderful book to read.
Mm-hmm. That sounds cool. I will read it.
This has been a very productive evening in a weird way.
Yeah.
I'm glad I hopped on tonight.
I am too. I'm really glad because I'm doing something that I probably ought not to be doing, but also should be doing to save my butt from the future. I keep getting into this fight, and I really should not be in these fights.
Yeah.
So making a one thing that I can throw out there, because they're always making the 7 same arguments. So if I can hit all 7 of these points here, then we're done. You know what I mean? Like, I just post it every time there, because it's the same ones. Every time anybody posts anything about EVs, it's always the same 7 lines. Good night, Merrick. We'll see you later. Again, I may not be here tomorrow, so be cognizant of that. And we don't know whether KN will be broadcasting or not. May or may not.
Yeah, it depends on what happens tomorrow morning when I get up.
But I will be here tomorrow night, so you can see me tomorrow night. No, they have to be mint green. Oh well.
What has to be mint green?
They can't be the blue color. They have to be mint green. They don't have the 9.5 by 11, or 9.5 by 11 in blue. Okay, just type in comic book mailers in blue. Yeah, see these bubble mailers, 7.5 by 12 inch, navy blue. Those are cool.
And would match the cover of your comic.
Yeah, I mean, 25 pack for $13. Delivery every 2 months. Whoa. kind of wild.
Shoot for the moon.
Right? I mean, that's like definitely kind of interesting. We'll see. I will buy it now because honestly, that way I can ship to people. I can't see needing more than 25 people needing me to mail stuff to them, but at least I'll be able to. So that's a plus.
Hey, hopefully that's a problem you start having,
Right?
where you need to ship out to that many people.
Exactly. But they're blue, and that's the important part because I want you to go, hey, look, it's a blue package. That means the guy's comic is here. You know what I mean? Like somebody gets excited about things that are in different colors and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you get the blue package, you know it's me. It's my comic. Yay! It's a new issue of Bellatrix Rising. I've been waiting all week for it.
Yay!
You know, who knows?
Oh, so Studio Trigger worked with Project Red, I think, does Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds around right.
Anyways, they produced an anime, and I've been hearing a lot of really good things about the anime. And it's Studio
cool.
Trigger. They don't do anything bad.
Nice. Can I make jokes about being triggered, though?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure they probably made quite a few of those jokes as well.
I'm sure. Right.
Have you ever noticed when you're doing comics how you'll do like a one-off line and it suddenly starts taking on a life of its own within
I'm
the
laughing because I totally know what you're talking about. I'm like, huh?
That's happening here.
Yep.
Yeah, this one character was trying to make a point about not doing too much power, and now it's kind of become the beat line for this other character of you know, I don't destroy the hospital. Don't. I've got to save this, and it's becoming almost their beat line.
Right.
It's like, this wasn't intentional, but I kind of like it because it's defining this character.
It's true. That's cool.
What is that balloon?
That's the you've made an error a noise. Except that it's not. In this instance, I'm taking screenshots. Oh, I should quantify. I am not taking screenshots of your work. In this instance, I am taking screenshots because I just realized that sounds creepier. I am taking.
I mean, Guy, at any point, I could just send you the files. You don't have to take screenshots.
I don't have to take screenshots. No, I'm on the section of this where it's like, but lithium is so horrible to the entire universe and yada, yada, yada. So I went out and just found a couple of the other battery solutions that we have found over the years. And I'm taking screenshots of those. There's an aluminum carbon battery. There's a sodium battery that they're working on. Stuff like that, like a sodium battery. I was like, well, table salt. I didn't even think about that, but I guess that works. The only reason they're using lithium right now is because that's just that's the technology that's out there. But now that they need a lot of lithium batteries for electric cars, they're starting to look at different alternatives. Before, when it was just a little battery in your cell phone, it wasn't that big of a deal. So the lithium problem is only going to be an issue for another 5-10 years, and then it's not going to be an issue anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest problem I have is I own oil wells. It's not like oil is so wonderful to the earth. And you should go see my oil field. I have an oil field in Texas, and it's brutal. The land is barren, absolutely barren. There aren't the animals. Animals don't even live on that land. You know what I mean? It is brutal. It is nasty. It is a horrible piece of land. It has been my entire life. Because my family struck oil on it in 1934. And you can tell, since it's been pumping oil since 1934, and I'm still getting residuals off of it and royalties, the family has continued to own the land. We've made a promise never to sell the land. So the family continues to hold the land, because the land my grandfather was actually born on. Because when my grandfather was born in 1912, they hadn't struck oil there yet. So,
yeah,
it was like, well, but they struck oil on there, and then they built wells, and then they put a field out there, and it's still called the Molly Shaw Field. And it's still a huge field out there of nothing but pumps going like this all the time. It's like, you could talk about strip mining lithium, but the truth of the matter is a lithium mine is nothing compared to the number of oil fields that we have, which are just barren and brutal.
Yeah. Oh, it's on my end.
Yep. Coming up on the end of the
Well,
night
it is
here.
just about time.
It is just about time, my friend. We can go on ahead and call it if you want. You're like, I got a page done. So,
Oh, I at least have it sketched. I mean,
yeah, no, I'm with you.
done today.
Yeah. So, okay, well, then I will see you tomorrow sometime, maybe. I hope so, anyway. And
Oh,
for
so
everybody
too.
else, yeah, I will be back tomorrow night and maybe tomorrow morning. Who knows? Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.